For all the good things that Rhett Lashlee has done in his time at SMU, there is one thing he has not gotten yet. And yeah, I think he's going to win ACC Coach of the Year.
You are Locked On SMU, your daily podcast on the SMU Mustangs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yeah, that's right. I said it. And I'll tell you why that is here in just a moment. Welcome to this Friday edition of Locked On SMU here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every single day. Appreciate you making us your first listen of the day as well. Our episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Have your cake and drink it too. Birthday cake flavor is back with no fork needed. Vanilla cakey flavor, caffeinated kick, and no sugar. It's party time. Order now at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. And also coming up on the show today, we'll preview SMU Boston College on Saturday afternoon, plus why SMU needs every single win it can get from here on out. I'll tell you how that correlates with their chances at a potential seed in the NCAA tournament. So all that and more coming up on this Friday edition. So glad you guys are with me. But let's start with Rhett Lashlee. And one of my earlier bold predictions for the upcoming 2026 season is that Kendrick Raphael is going to go for about 1,400 scrimmage yards. My second bold prediction is that Rhett Lashlee is going to be the ACC Coach of the Year. And it sets up perfectly from the end of the season even to where we are now. So there's three things that have happened between the end of the season to where we are now that it sets up nicely for Rhett Lashlee to be the Coach of the Year. The first thing that happened was that he lost a substantial amount of production. When you go back and look at it, SMU lost its leading rusher, its leading receiver, its second leading rusher, by the way, its second leading receiver, by the way, and probably its third, its leading tackler, leading interception creator. Oh, and by the way, its entire defensive line. Like SMU is going to look like this should not be underscored that SMU is going to look a lot different in 2026 than it did in 2025. We're going to start learning a lot of names. And I did not do the count on how many captains exited the program too, but I'm going to assume it was a healthy amount in terms of the percentage of the captains that are no longer here. So SMU lost all of that at the end of the season after the Holiday Bowl. All those dudes, TJ Harden, Chris Johnson Jr., Jordan Hudson, Romello Brinson, RJ Maryland, Matthew Hibner, the entirety of the defensive lines, Turbo, Cam Robertson, Terry Webb, Jeffrey Embraw, Ahmad Moses, Isaiah Okobi, all gone. Okay. So he lost a lot, and he seemed like he replaced it pretty decently. The second thing that happened is that he lost his coordinators. Now, I'm going out of order with this one, but he lost his coordinators. Casey Woods takes the head coaching job at Missouri State. Scott Simons, very recently, by the way, takes the inside linebackers job for the Dallas Cowboys. So now all of a sudden, the guys that have helped you build this program are out the door. The third thing that happened was the schedule came out. And it's a difficult and manageable one at the same time. If you guys remember the show from Thursday, if you didn't, please go back and watch it. We'd love for you to do that. But I got on with Spencer McLaughlin and I said, if SMU gets through the first 3-game stretch undefeated, they will be undefeated going into Notre Dame. And then after that, you've got the Notre Dame game and you've got Stanford, a game that you should expect SMU to win to close out the regular season. If they get through the first 3 games of their schedule, which are all played in the span of 12 days, Rhett Lashlee will have taken the nation by notice. You would have beaten Florida State on the road and then beaten Louisville on the road. If you're 3-0 by that point, I think they're undefeated until they get to Notre Dame. So those 3 things have already happened. You had a lot of turnover on the roster. You lost both your coordinators, and you will have navigated presumably a difficult schedule, at least at the beginning for sure. All that said, if SMU goes into the ACC championship game, let's just say 11-1 and 10-0 in conference play, Rhett Lashlee is the Coach of the Year. Everything's setting up for it to happen. He had to redo the roster for the most part. He had to replace coordinators. By the way, he's already a play caller. He is the offensive play caller. And he navigated a tough September. To me, that is a very good campaign. And when we go and break down all the resumes, loss of players, turnover on the roster, turnover on the staff, and a pretty wild start to the season, if SMU even goes 10-2, I think Rhett Lashlee is the coach of the year. Because tell me another coach in the ACC who has had to deal with all of that and still get potentially to the level that I think SMU can get to. If the Mustangs go 10-2 or better with all that has happened in the offseason, Rhett Lashlee is the coach of the year. And I think he can do it because I think he's going to get better as a play caller. I think he's going to look around and find out, okay, we cannot duplicate this penalty garbage that has been ailing us in 2025 and 2024. I have a good feeling he's going to get that corrected. I think SMU is going to be a lot better in that department. And I think they are going to benefit one way or another from a very favorable October. But ultimately, when it comes down to these coaching awards conversations, they're not going to nitpick, what their October was. You know what they are going to see, especially when they talk about SMU, if the Mustangs can keep themselves in position to be a college football playoff team, you know what they're going to go back to? Man, that team had a rough first 12 days of the season, and they were 3-0 after they traveled to Tallahassee and traveled to Louisville, Kentucky. And they were 3-0. And then, sure, they blitzed everybody in October. Again, this is all under the hypothetical pretense that SMU loses 1 or 2 games in the regular season. If they lose more, Rhett Lashlee is not the coach of the year, obviously. But if that is the case, and if that were to happen, along with the fact that I think they would have gotten better at certain things that have been a bugaboo on Rhett Lashlee's resume in terms of intangibles, right? I can make a very, very compelling case that Rhett Lashlee is the ACC Coach of the Year in 2026. That's my prediction. I get roster turnover. I get you having to replace coordinators. I get you navigating a tough stretch at the beginning of the season. And then all that said, you're still 10-2 or 11-1. You're in the ACC championship game. If that happens, and I believe that would be the case, show me another coach. Show me another coach. That would be a better argument for that. Brent Key is always going to be in the discussion. Jeff Brom, because he's going to have to replace a quarterback, and then he's lost some pretty key players as well. Christopher Bell on the outside at Louisville is certainly going to be a candidate. Mario Cristobal will probably be a perpetual candidate with what he's built at Miami. Maybe Clemson turns things around and Dabo's in the conversation. Maybe Mike Norvell does it at Florida State. He will certainly, if this were to happen, he would have certainly beat out very notable names for it and some very deserving. But I don't think when you combine roster, coordinator, and schedule, I don't know if there's another better case for another coach for what they had to deal with in the offseason than you could make for Rhett Lashlee if the Mustangs are to reach double digits in the regular season in terms of wins. I don't think there's a better case. So if the Mustangs take care of their business and they've got what happened in the offseason as the backdrop, Rhett Lashlee is the ACC Coach of the Year. That's my prediction. All right, coming up next. By the way, let me know what you think. Hit the YouTube chats, hit the YouTube comments. By the way, interact with me on Twitter, Gray_Singleton2. You think I'm right? Am I full of crap? Let me know. Love to interact with all of you guys at any part of the internet. All right, coming up next, SMU taking on Boston College in basketball on Saturday afternoon. What am I looking at for the Mustangs? What am I looking for from the Mustangs? We'll tell you about that on the other side. So keep it here on Locked On SMU. We're brought to you today, and we got to tell you about our friends first at 5 Hour Energy. Welcome to the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft. We're looking at every aspect of the draft to let you know which tasty flavors are the best and which just might be sleepers. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and only one is going to take the top spot. 5 Hour Energy has a wide variety of flavors and something for everyone, and they give you the boost you need with zero sugar. And they've got a lot more flavors and innovation coming up, so you want to make sure that you stay alert to that. So all you got to do, we got to find out what is our flavor. And I was telling you guys about this earlier in the week, and I'll tell you about it again. I love that grape flavor, man. Like, I love grape flavor 5 Hour Energy. It's the soft, rounded sweetness, and that Concord grape flavor, it already tastes similar to the candies I grew up liking as a kid, and I know you guys did as well. So it brings you that little jolt of nostalgia as well. It's a classic purple candy style finish with a consistent and straightforward taste that you are going to love. Find your new flavor of 5 Hour Energy shots. They're available online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. We're also brought to you today by FanDuel. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole thing taken care of. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, now's the perfect time to just go ahead and lock that bad boy in. I love futures at this time of year because whether it's picking a team to win the championship or grab a conference title, it adds an extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch, and we already have enough information to know who we think could possibly make a run. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, what's up? Welcome back to the show. Grayson Singleton here on Locked On SMU here on Friday. Appreciate you making us your first listen. Hey, make sure if you're new here, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Would love to have you be a recurring member of this Locked On SMU community. To all my everydayers, salute to y'all that never miss an episode. Okay, we'll tell you about the Everydayer Club in just a second, but SMU's going to take on Boston College after that big win over Louisville. Is this a trap game? Is it a trap game? And I think this game has every component to a trap game. Number one, SMU's coming off of an emotional big-time win. It feels like hope in this team has been resurrected. We got excellent play from Boogie Miller, the best he's looked ever since that game prior to the flu. Jerron Pierre Jr. was doing his thing. Corey Washington had an efficient 7 of 9 night. Jaden Toombs came up with some stuff. Sam Walters hit 2 threes. Offensively, at least, it looked like SMU could do no wrong. They scored 95 points in a 40-minute game. Defensively, still got questions. I'll leave it at that for today. But offensively, they showed what they can look like at their best. Shot the ball at 58%. But a big-time win, big emotional win, seemed like just a burden got lifted off the team's shoulders in terms of maybe trickling down back toward the bubble as it pertains to the NCAA tournament. But nevertheless, they got the win. They got it at home in front of an energetic crowd, and they paid it off. And now you go to Boston College. That right there is why this game could potentially be a trap game. You're at home against Boston College, by the way. Boston College is 2-11 in ACC play. They are the third to last team in the conference, and they are 9-17 overall. They don't do much well. They shoot the three at about 30%. They shoot it from the floor about 41%. Shoot free throws at about 64%. They don't do anything well. They're not a good team. Their only 2 wins in ACC play came against Syracuse, who I guess beat SMU, and against Pitt. You want to know why I'm doing this segment in the tone of voice that I am? It illustrates the point that this is a trap game. This is a quintessential trap game. Big time win, emotional high, feel like everything is stabilized. And then we play an opponent that is going to be very easy to overlook. Very easy to overlook. This is a trap game of all trap games. And the Mustangs have got to be ready for it. They got to be ready for it. They've got to be able to push Louisville aside, and lock back in. Because Boston College is going to play hard. Boston College is playing with house money. They got nothing to lose. Okay, maybe the coach, because he is going to be on the hot seat. But Boston College got nothing to lose. They're not going to make the NCAA tournament. They'll probably be one and done in the ACC tournament, and their season will come to an end in a few weeks. But I'll tell you what teams that their season has had that trajectory have a mindset of. They have a mindset of spoiling the party for as many people as they can. And you want people to get right back down on SMU again? Lose to Boston College and see what happens. And see what kind of things we're talking about. See what you guys' reactions are going to be in my YouTube comments, in other people's YouTube comments, on Twitter as well. I look at all of y'all's tweets. I look at and like some of y'all's tweets. I respond to it. I look at the comments. Think about what those would be if SMU were to lose to Boston College. That's the type of environment that Boston College wants to create if they come into Moody Coliseum, the place that just saw SMU get maybe its most consequential win of the season. They want to suck every vitality every ounce of vitality out of that arena. This is a quintessential trap game. So if you're the Mustangs, look, if you're the Mustangs, you got to stay locked in. What worked on offense, duplicate it. The things that you can clean up defensively, duplicate it. The things that looked excellent defensively, by the way, in the second half, keep it going. Remember this, most recently, in the second half, the most recent time we've seen SMU, they played good defense, at least based on raw numbers. Based on raw numbers, they played good defense. They turned Louisville over 11 times in the second half on that Tuesday night game. They held Louisville to 38% shooting from the floor in the second half of that game on Tuesday night. The only thing they really didn't do well defensively is rebound the basketball. Other than that, they were great defensively. Carried that momentum on. Carried that momentum into Boston College and make them look like the team they are. Hold them below 30% from the three-point line. Hold them to 40% or below from the field. Don't put them on the foul line. Turn them over. Boston College commits 11 turnovers per game. Turn them over 13 times. Actually do it again. This is when you can stack days in terms of getting better at the things you still need to get better at. And SMU is a good team. It is far from being a perfect one. So stack the days. Stay locked in. Don't have a letdown. And it's going to be easy to. Man, our season looks like we put a jolt of excitement back into it. We just knocked off a top 25 team. We got quad one win, number 4. Everybody, including myself, by the way, has pretty much punched our ticket to the NCAA tournament. Don't let it slip away, man. Do not let it slip away. Don't have me coming back on this podcast on Monday and talking about, well, I don't know about SMU again. I don't want to have to talk about that. Y'all don't want to have to hear me talk about it. So if you're SMU, this is a quintessential trap game, but handle your business, stay locked in, keep getting better, approach it with a professional mindset, and we're going to be good. And we're going to keep talking about this team in some pretty enlightening terms, pretty exciting terms going into next week. Let's see if the Mustangs can do it. All right, coming up next, why SMU needs to win every single game in the regular season. I'll tell you why that is to close up the weekend here on Locked On SMU.
I'm Clea Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot. celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. It was a heavyweight showdown between number 3 South Carolina and number 7 LSU, and the Gamecocks rose to the occasion. South Carolina secured a hard-fought 79-72 victory to stay atop the SEC standings, using a balanced offensive attack to outlast the Tigers. Tessa Johnson led the way with 21 points, while Raven Johnson added 19. Medina Okot dominated the paint with a double-double, finishing with 12 points and 17 rebounds, while Joyce Edwards chipped in 10 points to round out the scoring. With the statement win, the Gamecocks now turn their attention to a road matchup at number 23 Alabama on Thursday. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
All right, final segment here of the week, closing it up on Locked On SMU. And before we go any further, I want to tell you about our Everydayer Club as well. Ad-free versions of this show on the audio podcast side, so that's compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. You'll be able to get us ad-free, no interruptions, perfect for the car, perfect for the gym, or just wherever you might be wanting to pop in a podcast and throw on those AirPods. Also, members-only Discord access. So that means you get to hang out on Discord with a bunch of Locked On Everydayers as well, get to chat and maybe, exchange some trash talk on the server as well. Some of our hosts are in there as well. So all you got to do, go to lockedonsmu.supercast.com or tap the link in the show description or show notes to learn more about the Everydayer Club. $5 a month or $50 for the entire year can get you all of what I just talked about. Okay, why does SMU need to win every single game the rest of the regular season? This is because it'll piggyback off of something that I talked about, I believe on Wednesday is when I covered this, maybe even Tuesday. But SMU right now is flirting with a 7-9 seed, which is great, which is a good seed. It means you are a bona fide tournament team. You weren't on the bubble. However, I look at this team and especially its offense, and I think this is an offense that can get to the second weekend of the tournament. We're talking about the Sweet 16. However, the 1 line and 2 lines are just daunting this year. The 1 line is likely going to be some combination of Duke, Michigan, Arizona, Houston, Iowa State, UConn, and you keep going. It is a wildly good. Those are wildly good teams. Kansas, you can throw in the mix there too. Wildly good teams at the top of college basketball. Michigan State. So are any of those teams that I do not think are definitively better than SMU? The answer to that question, in all honesty, is no. All of those teams that I just threw out are definitively better than SMU. So if we want SMU to have its best path to get to the second weekend of the tournament, that means the Mustangs are going to have to be a 6 seed or higher to avoid playing those teams. They need to win every single game to get to that point. They do have one more impressive looking game on the schedule, and that is the 21-5 Miami Hurricanes, who have just turned it around in the first year under Jai Lucas. That is their biggest opportunity to really see if they can jump into a top 6 seed, outside of obviously pulling off a couple upsets in the ACC tournament. That would go an even longer way toward it. But you've got a quad 1 opportunity at Cal. You may have a quad 1 opportunity at Stanford. You will definitely have a quad 1 opportunity against Miami. They have got to win those games, and really every game the rest of the way, because outside of those games, keep this in mind too, as it pertains to SMU, is a bunch of games that if you lose are going to look really, really bad. So outside of the quad 1 at Cal, a potential quad 1 at Stanford, and a potential quad 1 at Miami, their other games remaining are Boston College and Florida State. If you lose either of those games, that will look miserable. It will look miserable. So you don't want to lose those games, and you want to enhance your resume with the others. I've covered the final 5 games of the regular season. You see where we're going here. You got to win all of them. Perhaps the best part of SMU's resume right now in terms of a tournament resume is the fact that they have a 0 in the loss column of quads 3 and 4. The fact that they have not lost a quad 3 or 4 game this season is doing them more good than I think we give it credit for, and that includes myself. The fact that they are in the upper 30s of the net, flirting with the high 20s, or the low 20s, is largely part to the fact that they win their games they're supposed to win. Now, if you want to say, well, they shouldn't have lost to Syracuse, okay, I'm here for that. Like, I am here for that. But even Syracuse would have been a quad 1 win. So, regardless of how you view it, maybe the LSU game just looks absolutely miserable now because the Tigers have just tanked as the season has gone on. Like, I mean, LSU is really, really bad at this point in the season. But outside of that game, they haven't lost a game to a team they should have won. And that is a big deal. That is a really big deal. So, the Mustangs have got to win every single one going so far, because if they do so, and then maybe you pull off 1 or 2 upsets in the ACC tournament, you can get off that 7-9 line that you are currently projected to be on. Right now, On3 has SMU as a 9 seed. Joe Lenardi of ESPN has not updated his bracketology in the last couple of days, but the last time he did was before the Louisville game, mind you, and he had SMU as a 10. So that's not favorable at all. Like, at that point, you would almost want to be an 11, play a 6, and then potentially, get to the 3 seed. But obviously, you don't want to do that. You don't want to work yourself to where you're 11 seed, because at that point, you're back on the bubble. Like, the 11 seeds are last 4 buys. Just if you did not know how that works. Last 4 buys are part of the last 4 in, which I don't know why the NCAA tournament does that. Anyway, I digress. Actually, no, the last 4 buys are the 10 seed. Excuse me. But anyway, you got to make sure that doesn't work, that doesn't happen. You want to give yourself the best chance to get to the second weekend of the tournament, which is now the standard that I think we should have for this team. Maybe I'm being a little bit ambitious. Maybe the standard should be win a tournament game. Maybe that's what it should be for this team, given their lack of defense. I would, if you were going to tell me that, okay, I understand. I get it. I think this team, especially with its offense, can get to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament. And when I look at it from that framework, I think, all right, you got to get to the 6. That way, you can play a 3 in the second round and give yourself a better chance to get to the Sweet 16. That's how I look at it. That's why SMU needs to win every single one of its regular season games. That would be at least 2 more quad 1s, and you would be undefeated against quads 3 and 4. That's the way I'm going to look at that. So that's why I think they've got to win every single game the rest of the way. And obviously it starts on Saturday afternoon against Boston College. All right, that'll do it for Locked On SMU this week. Appreciate you guys tuning in as always. If you haven't already, make sure you check out that Everydayer Club as well. Ad-free versions of this show on the audio side, plus members-only access on a Discord channel that features some of our hosts as well. All right, appreciate you making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, make the 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. And for those of you on audio, make sure you make Locked On College Basketball your second listen of the day as well. We'll talk to you guys on Monday. Be easy, everybody. Have a good weekend.